today we'll cover this international relation. It will take 2 classes. In the first class, we'll cover one segment, and tomorrow's another segment. We'll divide this international in 2 classes, and it will be covered the whole syllabus very easily. Okay, so today we could not prepare that question paper because it was, some people are busy. So I'll show you the questions. We'll write it. I'll give a brief description about the questions and then we'll go. GS-2 syllabus, and as we know in GS-2 there are 3 major components. One is your constitution and polity, second governance, and third here you have this international relation. Now this from here till here. If you see this syllabus, here it has India and its neighborhood relation, bilateral and regional, this part. Bilateral, regional, global groupings and agreements involving India and affecting its interest, effect of policies and politics of developed and developing countries on India's interest and Indian diaspora, important international institutions, agencies, fora and their structure and mandate. Now it's looking little complex. Let me simplify this for you. See, if you will see the whole syllabus of IR, this is the part of GS-2. See, the syllabus can be divided into 3 components. The component number 1 is related to the bilateral relation. Bilateral relations. Second is multilateral relation. And third is relations with diaspora. Who are diaspora? Not only NRIs, it includes NRIs it also includes overseas citizen of India. There are different definitions, right? So basically the people with the Indian origin, we call them as the diaspora who are living outside India, right? So we can divide into these 3 components, and these 3 can also be further divided. See, bilateral relation as per the syllabus can be divided into 2 parts. First is bilateral relation with our neighbors. Okay. Second is the developed country. Mostly they ask with the developed and developing countries like US, China, Russia, Israel, like that they ask. Okay. Here in the multilateral relation they ask 3 type of question. One type is related to the regional groupings. Regional groupings like SCO, NATO. They have already asked question on SCO. Example here, if you want, we can write as SCO. Like BRICS, highly in the news, BRICS. Now that has become BRICS plus. Second is the agreements. They can ask on the agreements. Like there are like Ashgabat agreement or any such other agreement. If you are having, what is the role? Then you have the multilateral institution, or sorry, here we can write international organizations or institutions like WTO, IMF, World Bank, others. So the whole international relations can be summarized in this manner. right? Either they will ask like the bilateral relation issues related to that. For example, India-Bangladesh relation in the India neighborhood, highly predicted question for next year because they're highly in the news, right? In the previous year 2024, Maldives was in the news because of India out campaign there. You remember, like his president was asking Indian troops who were there in the Maldives to get out from, go out from India, right? So that was in the news in 2024. They asked question on on the Maldives. So the Bangladesh in the news, and before that in 2022-23 there was crisis in Sri Lanka, and India extended its support to the Sri Lanka. So the question was critically examine the role of India in Sri Lanka to mitigate their crisis. So in international relation, mostly questions asked what is going on in the current affairs, but they will ask question based on these frameworks. What issue going on in the neighborhood? India-Pakistan can also be asked in terms of the terrorism and Operation Sindoor. India-Bangladesh in the news, and they can also ask like there is trilateral going on between the Bangladesh, China and the Pakistan. Now they are getting close. So how it can threat India's interest. Similarly, in Nepal, Genji, this protest happened, and there was political changes in the Nepal. What can be its significance on India? So such questions are expected from the neighborhood. So such question UPSC picks not based on what is the relation between India and Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, but they will link with the current what is happening, and they will ask the question. We'll analyze the PYQ, you will understand that. Second is the developed and developing countries. Like Africa, they can ask about the US, India-Israel relation, India-Japan relation. So which are not our neighborhood, but having a significant stake with them. India-Canada relation saw some dip and now it is growing. The Trudeau, some Khalistani issues were going on with the Canada. So India-Canada issue can also be there. So such kind of issue which are not our neighbor but still impact our interest will be covered under this topic. Getting? Then here comes the regional groupings like SCO, BRIC, SARC, BIMSTEC, where India is a part or it has certain stake. For example, Quad. India is a part of the Quad. So UPSC can ask under this. Right? Now, but there is another organization called as AUKUS. Have you heard? AUKUS. Right? Australia, UK, US. Now, is India part of it? Can UPSC ask question on it? Yes. Why?
Because it's an alternate.
Because where this is situated basically, its focus area is which place? If you will see India's map, this is Australia, Indochina, right? So here India's interest is involved. So wherever India's interest is involved, even if India is not a member of it, question can be asked on it. NATO, India is not a member, but they can ask because NATO can impact India's interest. India-Russia relation is directly or indirectly influenced by the NATO relation. If India goes close to the NATO, our relation with the Russia can get some setback, right? So here regional groupings, not only the groupings where India is a member, but also a significant grouping which can impact India's relation or India's interest can be asked by the UPSC under this. Agreements, Ashgabat agreement is there. There is agreement on have you heard about that IMEC, India Middle East Economic Corridor, India Europe Middle East Economic Corridor, right? So this is an agreement signed during the G20 summit which happened in New Delhi, right? So this is an agreement. Here question can be asked, right? There was a Solar Alliance agreement was there. They asked one nation, one world, one sun, one earth, something like that they ask, right? So the point here is that if any significant agreement is there where India is involved or India's interest is involved, question can be asked. Then comes the international organization like the WTO, IMF, World Bank. These international organizations they can ask. Now this is the syllabus. Here today our focus will be this, because two questions you can expect from here. One question mostly they ask any one among them, and one question from the diaspora, but it is not very frequent. Occasionally they ask. right? So the most of the questions comes from this part. So our focus will be, today we'll focus on this part, tomorrow we'll focus on this and this part. Here we'll develop one framework for them, how to develop for the international organization. There will be one framework, similar one framework can be for this and one framework can be for the diaspora, right? So after writing the questions, we will analyze we'll see the previous year question. Within this, what exactly type of questions they are asking, what is the demand of the questions they are asking, most common. So that we will try to figure out after writing the question. So understood this syllabus? This is very important to understand, and your preparation should be focused in that manner. Whenever you are covering any particular topic, try to cover the agreements. If you are covering now for the prelims, you will prepare international relations. So there, try to focus on the international organization. Here, very important is what is their objective. Generally for prelims, what we will remember is that the organization, when it was constituted, and what is the agreement behind that. For example, there is Bangkok agreement behind the BIMSTEC. So certain agreements are there. So what is that agreement, what is that declaration, and headquarters. But there we need to know is that what are the goals of. So when you prepare for the prelims, their objectives and goals directly asked in the mains also. So that's why when you cover this for the prelims, it will help you in the mains also. So both way it will help. So that's why understanding the demand of the question, if you know what exactly they are asking, because in the prelims also you are going to cover the same things. Similar topics only you will cover, right? So if you know that what exactly they are asking, during prelims preparation only you can focus on them, right? So that should be the approach of it. So let's first write them and then we'll discuss how we can create the frameworks. So see, I'll give you a brief description about these topics and then we'll write. See, first question is, China is using its economic relations and positive trade surplus as a tool to develop potential military power status in Asia. In the light of this statement, discuss its impact on India as her neighbor. Now, it is based on which topic? India neighborhood policy, right? India neighborhood relations. Second question, India's relation with Israel have the late acquired a depth and diversity which cannot be rolled back. Discuss. It's related to which topic? Yes, here. One question is from the neighborhood, like China, how it's impacting India-China relation, and then China's policy, how it is impacting India's neighborhood. Second is the developed countries. So both are mostly the bilateral relations. The first question is not directly a bilateral relation. It is China's policies which is impacting India, right? Because if you see the syllabus, see what exactly they have mentioned in the syllabus is that what they are asking, India's and neighborhood relations. Second, bilateral, regional, we'll cover this part in the next segment, but involving India and affecting India's interest. Then effect of policies and politics of developed and developing country. In the first question, politics of whom involved? China's politics is involved, right? Effect of China's politics, which is a developed country now or developing country, on India's interest. That question, now see this question, how UPSC is framing the question. China is a kind of developing country, significant stakeholder, a kind of superpower now. They are having some politics, some policies in our neighborhood which is impacting India's interest, and that UPSC is asking. Getting? So when you hear a news, you can frame your own questions if you have understood the question syllabus properly, how their policies are impacting India. Now, one time UPSC asked, like if you know that this West, that is the Europe and the US, they look India as a counter to whom? Which country? Counter to China, right? That's why they invest a lot in India, so that India can be alternative to China or counter China. Now that's their policy. That means the US and European Union, their defense strategy in the Indo-Pacific has to be centered around India, because India is a significant country. Now this is the politics of West. Now how it can impact India? Can we ask the question? Right? Now the China is having some policy for Taiwan and South China Sea. Now that is their politics going on. That has implication on India also. India-Taiwan relation, India's relation in that trade route can impact. So they can ask, in that they will create the context, China is threatening the South China Sea, what can be the stake for India? So the politics you have to understand, the major player, what politics they are playing and how it can impact. So the US politics of this tariff as a tool to influence the different country, how it can impact India. So such question can be asked. So this is a template for you. That's why template based answer writing. This is a template. Similar question can be created, and how it can impact. They can impact the India. They can ask. Similarly, this one, India-Israel. This is a direct bilateral relation. Sometimes they can directly ask. India-US relation is a key for the world, but recently, due to the tariff, it has seen its deep, critically examined. So basically, they are asking what are the positive side of the India and US relation, what is the negative side of India-US relation. So this particular, that kind of relation will be more bilateral, two countries involved. So this second question is that type. Okay, so let's first write and then we'll try to see like the what framework we can develop here. Okay, perfect. So we saw the questions. Now we'll see the analysis of the previous year question. We have understood the syllabus. Now within that syllabus, what UPSC is exactly asking. So this is the first part, that is India and its bilateral relations. Okay, let's see. See what exactly they are asking. The proposed withdrawal of International Security Assistance Force from Afghanistan 2014 is fought with the major security implication for the country of the region, examined in light of the fact that India is faced with the plethora of challenges and need to safeguard its own economic interests, strategic interests. Now, this topic you can clearly understand from where UPSC is creating this topic is nothing but that the policies, this PDF has kept this as a bilateral relation, but I would consider it as a policies of the developed country. Basically, US was present in Afghanistan, they withdrew their force. So what can be the strategic implication on India? That is the question, basically theme of the question. So again, it can be in the bilateral, it can be in the policies of the developed or developing countries, right? Implication on India, and that's why I clubbed the both of them to discuss in today's class, because it's very difficult to segregate. Now, how can you segregate every issue as a bilateral relation? Not possible, right? So this is also same. What exactly they are asking is that implication on India, and what you have written in the second question, first question, the China policies implication on India. What we are getting here is that implication is a very important. Now here also economic ties between, see here economic ties between India and Japan they have asking. What are the constraints which inhibiting its growth? Basically this is on the India-Japan bilateral relation. Now there are the positive side and there are some constraints. Exactly the question you have written the second question. India-Israel relation. They have asked like the okay, it is getting into depth, also it is diversifying. But they have asked us to discuss. We can't say that everything is good with India-Israel, right? There might be some challenges. So inherently that question is also asking us to mention some of the challenges between India and Israel. Okay. Similarly, you see the other question also with respect to the South China Sea. Now here, whenever South China Sea is coming, the major issue is that China is dominating that area. What can be the implication on India? See, in this context, discuss the bilateral issues between India and China. In that context they give. Again, issues we have to discuss. Here also, the aim of information technology. The aim of information technology agreement is lower all taxes and tariff impact would be such agreement having in India interest. Some agreement happened, impact. This is nothing but the agreement topic. I think this is misplaced in this particular topic. But information technology agreement, we have seen that category, agreement wala category. What can be the implication in India? Exactly they are asking from here. So you see that every question if you will take, the analysis which I have made for PYQ, it will fit there. You need to analyze that way. This is not a state service exam where the direct question will come. So that much analysis UPSC expect from this UPSC aspirant. It's not like directly they are describe the India-China relations. So they expect us. They have given one syllabus which is vague. They expect us to analyze the issues which are going on in the world and relate with them. So that relationship you have to understand. Now, if you see the latest question also, critically analyze India's evolving diplomatic, economic and strategic relation with Central Asian Republic, highlighting their increasing significance in the regional and the global politics. Similar question. What they are asking? Central Asian Republic, that is those countries, Kazakhstan, these countries are there, na? With them, what is the relationship? Here also you will mention some challenges are there because they have asked critically analyze. Any relation, it's not flowery. Every relation will be having some positive, negative. You see, the West Asia is fostering India an alternative reduced dependence on China. West is fostering India. We discussed, na? So they are asking us to explain this statement. Basically, what is the reason behind which they are asking us to do that? Okay. So you see the pattern here. You see a pattern here. Here they are asking like the NATO, which we will discuss tomorrow. SCO wala we will discuss in tomorrow's class. So most of the question here are in the same line. What they exactly they are asking. Now we will take the first pillar. First pillar is that, first type of question is that bilateral relations. First type of question is bilateral relation. Here in the bilateral relation there are two type of question they are asking. Question number one, what is the convergence? The point of convergence between the two countries. Convergence means there can be convergence in economic, both are basically converging. But every relation from Russia to China to US, India have some divergence. Isn't it? Russia has some interest, India has some interest. So there are some divergence. Every relation, bilateral relation, you have to see from this point of view, the point of convergence, point of divergence. Point of convergence and point of divergence, bilateral relation. Now this point of convergence can be of different type. The convergence can be in the different areas. This is point of convergence and there are point of divergence. Now we can see this point of convergence in the areas like the first important area for any relationship is geostrategic. Geostrategic relations. India, Russia strategic partnership. There is comprehensive strategic partnership. Okay, some keywords we'll see that. Keywords are also important here. So geostrategic, we have to see from the strategic point of view. Whenever this word strategic is coming, what you have to bring here is, the first point you have to bring here is the defense relations. You have to think the defense relationship between the two countries. Okay, that's the most important thing. The second thing in the strategic relation is the security. Security in terms from the terrorism, counter-terrorism agreements. Okay, third you have to bring here is military exercise and cooperation. Military, this is cooperation. Military cooperation. Geostrategic, think from the defense, security, like terrorism, counter-terrorism, counter-money laundering, internal security we'll study now, everything will come under the security. Then we'll see from the military cooperation, especially here the military exercises. You mug up some military exercises for every important country. India, US have the, what is the most significant military exercise, right? There are Malabar exercise. So some exercises are there. If we have mug up the exercises for India, Japan, India, Russia, Indra exercise is there. So we can use them in the military exercise. So if you don't have any point also, you can use that as an example. You'll see that in today's answer. So this is a 3 dimension under the geostrategy, clearly you can bring. Clear? Now let's go to the next aspect. This is the geostrategic point. This is geostrategic. Now, the second aspect is geoeconomic. In geoeconomic, the important pillar, most important pillar, what is the most important pillar of economic relations? Trade. Yes, that is the trade. Trade is the most important pillar. You have to think about the trade. What is the second pillar of economic relation? Tariff is related to trade. What?
Economic agreements.
Economic agreement, that mostly the trade agreement, free trade agreement and those things. But one you can segregate is that infrastructure is the major relations, isn't it? They are collaborating to develop. For example, we have the international now north-south trade corridor, transport corridor, right? We have the Asgabad agreement is also a transport corridor. We have IMEC corridor, India Middle East economic corridor. So the trade relationship, you must have Kaladan project also, you must have heard, between India and Myanmar, Kaladan connectivity project, right? So the development of infrastructure, especially the connectivity, is an important economic pillar you have to bring. The third thing you have to bring is the energy partnership. Yeah, though it is a part of trade, but it is very, very important. India Middle East energy cooperation, India Russia, energy has become an important pillar nowadays in the geopolitics, right? Energy partnership. The third you have to bring is the critical minerals. Critical minerals. Why I am creating this dimension is that because of the highly in the news, critical minerals, because this is the future, right? And here in infrastructure, just use the one word called as the supply chain. Supply chain. That is a very key word. Supply chain resilience, supply chain security, and those all things, right? So these are the areas we have to see. The third area. The third area is geopolitical angle. In geopolitics, what angle you can bring is that the first important angle is that it can have 2 dimensions, multilateral grouping. Basically what happens is that in geopolitics involves the relationship between the different country, the political relationship, and most important political relationship is their involvement and relationship in the multilateral organization. Most important thing, which country is supporting India's bid for permanent membership in United Nations Security Council? For example, Israel. Now in the Indo-Israel political relationship, they both are the member of United Nations. They both are the member of I2U2, right? So Israel supports India's cause, India's permanent membership in the United Nations Security Council. That's a good relationship. right? So that can be the multilateral grouping. What is the relationship? Like United Nations, Then there can be the regional organization, regional grouping. What is the collaboration between the India, Israel, India, China in the regional grouping? Though you can talk about many negative about the China, the positive is that they are still collaborating in the regional grouping called BRICS. They are still collaborating in regional grouping called SCO, right? So if you have this dimension, you can bring the positive. They both are in the United Nations, WTO. They both are talking about the multilateral institutions, reform in the institution. So there is a point of convergence in India, China also. In India, Pakistan also, you can bring the convergence. Right now, if I ask you to think about the convergence between India and Pakistan, it would be very difficult. But if you have this framework, at least one point you can definitely generate is that they both are the member of SCO. So they can at least have some communication, right? So trade can be developed. The scope of convergence is in the trade. Both can have the trade. Then strategic, they both can collaborate in the terrorism if they are cooperating, right? So when you have these dimensions, definitely you can, if they give any question, any topic, India, Uganda also, you can bring it, the points. Now the next dimension, the third dimension, fourth is, you are getting what we are talking about here? Here we are also going to see the support and divergence and those all things, but 2 points is enough here. The fourth important aspect is the development. Developmental relations. Here it will involve the relationship around technology, relationship around climate change, relationship around disaster management. Okay, so new technology development, like India, US are collaborating on the which area? Space area. They are collaborating on the this medicine area, collaboration. A lot of collaboration is there, right? And the last one would be the cultural relation. So use the better word here. The people to people relation. This is soft power, people to people relation. Here you bring the dimension like cultural relation, especially like sports, if any sports relation are there. Bollywoods are very popular in some of the Central Asian countries. Songs are popular. So yoga is also a tool of the cultural medicines, yoga. These all things will come under the cultural relation. Cricket is a very common thing. If you are writing India-Australia relation, many times you see that during the World Cup final, the Prime Minister of Australia will come to watch. Indian Prime Minister will come to watch. So see how significant these are. So see, these are not just like they are watching the cricket. They are discussing around that. That symbolizes like that these two countries are very close. Have you ever seen India-Pakistan Prime Minister sitting and watching a cricket match? No. But you will see that the India and Australia Prime Minister are sitting and watching the cricket match. So what that signifies to the world? That signifies to the world that we are here together, we trust each other, and that's why we are enjoying even the cultural activity or the sports activities. So that gives a signal to the world that the India-Australia have a very good relationship. Not only the world, to the investors. Then the Australian investor will feel confident about India. Okay, Australia is having good relation with India. So we can invest in India, we can trade with India. So that small gesture will create a huge impact in the geopolitics. These all are the part of the narrative. Now there is a narrative. If you study this international relation, there is a significant change. If you are a political science or this international relation student, or if you have studied this particular topic, the narrative is a very important segment these days in the geopolitics. what narrative you are creating in the world. And India is poor in creating the narrative because we have very less influence in the international media. But the countries like China, US, they have a strong narrative builders across the world. Narrative building means how you are creating basically the discussion around a particular thing. For example, there has been the development of narrative in favor of Palestine, in favor of Ukraine, right? But the other side is sometimes missed. So how you are creating the narrative depends on like how much you have influence in the culture, how much influence you have in the media, especially international media. So that influence a lot of geopolitics, economics and everything. Okay, so the cultural aspect will ensure the people to people relation. Here they are also bringing the mobility relations, mobility pacts. This is an important component between the India and other countries. Nowadays any agreement is involving the mobility pacts. Mobility pacts means you are allowing the different country people, our people can go to the Australia, US, like that. So the mobility pact is also, because if mobility is there, the people from this country will go to that country people will come, so the people to people relation will be strengthened. Okay, so sufficient dimension you can get from here. This is enough to write any answer of bilateral, any kind of bilateral relation can be written if you have these dimensions. Now we'll see with the example. Now this convergence and divergence, both sides you can use the same dimension, isn't it? The convergence in the geostrategic defense. Now the divergence, what can be there? The India-Pakistan divergence, if you want to write, terrorism is the major issue, right? You can talk about the lack of military cooperation, conflict between the militaries. We can talk about the poor defense collaboration, something like that. And geo-economic, trade, investment, very low trade is there between. Major issue between India and Russia is that lack of diversification of the trade. The major trade between India and Russia are two only: defense and energy. What about other? Agriculture is the major part, electronics, another, where India have the strong area, low. So lack of diversification is a major trade issue. And the second issue we see, the economic issue, when we see about the divergence, is that if any country you take, the trade of India versus trade of China is more than 3 times. You take ASEAN, you take Australia, Japan, even our close friends, China's trade is much higher than the India. So always we present the comparative. Though India-Japan trade has increased, but still it is significantly less than the China. That's a common point with any country. Then infrastructure, poor connectivity. India and South America, connectivity is very poor. That means the ports, terminals, the trade routes are not properly developed. So the trade are hindered because of those connectivity challenges. Infrastructure projects are getting slow, very slow progress are there. Energy dimension, you know that how supply chain disruption is causing the energy trade. These OPEC you can bring here, OPEC cartelization. Because of that, they basically control the prices of energy, right? Then the critical minerals, dominance of monopoly of which country? China. It's the point here. Geopolitics, multilateral grouping, the hegemony of US and the West undermines the Indian interest. The regional grouping, like here example, United Nations Security Council, reforms are not happening. Regional groupings, there is the divergence in most of the regional groupings. Take the SCO example, right? One time China is there, other side China Pakistan is there, other side India is there. So the issues are there, almost SARC is not functioning, regional grouping, almost closed. right? Then you have the developmental technology. Most of the time here, the issue here is the funding issue, climate change, climate finance issue, right? Here disaster management, lack of capacity, lack of collaboration, these all points we can bring here. But that many we don't write in divergence. Divergence 2-3 point only we can write. But still my point here is that everything you can bring the relations. This will create a common platform, a common template for you to write any bilateral relations. Okay. So now let's see the answers, how this has been used. Before that, I would like to see your answers. The first question here, let's see first the question, understand the question. China is using economic relations and the positive trade. So the first question of today is that, of international relations, China is using its economic relation and positive trade circle as a tool to develop potential military power status in Asia. This is the first part. In light of this statement, discuss its impact on the India as her neighbor. Now the first part of the question is that we have to show that how China is using economic and positive trade relation with to develop the economic power in the Asia. Now if that is happening, what can be its impact on its neighbor, basically India, on India. So what is the economic, the military power they are developing, what can be the impact on India? Now let's see. This is the answer I have written. Now this question, the answer here says that this is basically their policy, which is very popular. Whenever we read about India-China relation, string of pearls in the Indo-Pacific, Indian Ocean, basically their strategy. String of pearls means they want to develop their power pockets, and together they want to circle India. That's called as the strategic encirclement. Okay, here strategy, China is using economic and trade as a weapon, which is called as the weaponization of trade and economic power. That's the key word, weaponization of trade and economic power, which can impact India's interest significantly. So it is addressing the policy I gave and using the keyword. Clear? Now let's go to the India weaponization, China's weaponization of trade and economic relations in Asia. How they are doing it? Showing the different aspect of it. CPEC with the Pakistan, with Nepal, China-Nepal military agreement, with the Myanmar, they are supporting the military government there, as well as they are taking this Seatway project and their control over some ports in the Myanmar. Bangladesh defense agreement, Hambantota port by debt trap, Sri Lanka, military presence in the Maldives. So every neighbor, they have certain thing. So clearly visible, yes, in the neighbor what defense pact they are having. Now impact on India. This, what can be the impact on India? Strategic encirclement of India can threaten its security. The first point is a geostrategic point, the dimension, geostrategic dimension. Second, see the geo-economic repercussions, trade disruption due to the greater Chinese influence. Energy security can be disrupted by controlling the trade routes. See the dimensions I have given, frame template, I am following the same. Same, geopolitical impact, marginalization of India in the neighbor. Example, recent China, Bangladesh, Pakistan trilateral defense pact. Okay, this is the political setback to India's vision of Asian leadership, neighborhood first policy vision, because China is dominating. Then comes the way forward. Basically, when it's talking about the issues, you should also give the how it can be solved. The way forward is that revive SAARC, people to people relation, track 1.5 keyword. Developmental partnership like disaster, financial support and infrastructure development so that they don't have to depend on the China. India should adopt necklace of diamond strategy with right balance of hard and soft power in the region. Hard power, soft power means our cultural relation, people to people relation, which China do not have. We have civilizational relation with our neighbors, China do not have. We can use that along with the hard power, that is our military and the financial power. We need the right balance. We can't just depend on the soft power. We can't just depend on the hard power. China is depending more on the hard power. So we need the strategy which uses both. Necklace of diamond strategy is India's strategy to counter pearls of string strategy. So this way, you see the answer here. Can you see the difference in your answer and my answer? Huh? It's addressing the all parts of the question. This is the impact, well structured, keywords are there, the way forward is there. Way forward is required. Why? Because you are talking about the issues. Na? So as a diplomat, it is expected to give at least some suggestion, 1 or 2. Okay, clear? Any doubt here in this question? Let's go to the second question. Second question. India's relation with Israel have of late, see this word, of late, acquired a depth and diversity which cannot be rolled back, discussed. Now see, if you understand the question, first it's saying it has started late. Late means India developed its diplomatic relation, bilateral relation with the Israel very late in 1990s. But still it has grown in diverse field as well as it has entered depth, that is close relation. Now it's saying which cannot be rolled back, and it's saying to discuss. Do you think any relation will always be flourished? There can always be some setback. Suppose tomorrow new government comes in India and they start supporting more Palestine. Then India and Israel relation can deep. Do you agree or not? Right? So how we saw suddenly India-US relation came into deep. It was flying. Right? So relation can change any time in the geopolitics. So we can't say that it cannot be rolled back or India cannot roll back. Yes, it's very deep, but challenges are still there which can threaten India-Israel relations. At the end, in the conclusion, you have to say that we need to work in some area so that this relation can flourish more. Right? So that should be the structure. First, you have to talk about how it has acquired the depth and diversity, in what areas. Then you have to talk about there still some challenges are there and they should keep working on them. Clear? Now let's see the answer here. India established its diplomatic relation with Israel in 1990s. Despite late, it had grown into strategic partnership which we have signed with them. Okay? So see, underline also 1990, year I am mentioning, strategic partnership keyword I am underlining. Going to the next point, the depth and diversity in India's and Israel relationship. Here Israel-India is shown, I2, U2, this is U2, IMEC, the major relations. Geo-economic, because India-Israel relation is more focused on the economic. So that's why I started with this, that you have to use your thinking, that which point I should prioritize. So here, agriculture technology transfer, I prioritize. That's the key. Center of excellence in Punjab by Israel. Growing bilateral trade on pearls, electronics, etc. Infrastructure collaboration like IMEC agreement. So infrastructure point, trade point, agriculture. The part of economic dimension. Going to the strategic counter-terrorism, they are collaborating. You know that. Military cooperation through the military exercises and intelligence sharing. They share intelligence with each other. Geopolitical support to establish cause in UN like Israel support India's permanent seat. Part of regional grouping like I2, U2. Defense, no question asked supplier like Barak missile. However, there are challenges in the relations too, like strategic relation versus humanitarian support to Palestine dilemma. We are in dilemma. Do you feel or not? Next, poor connectivity impacts the trade. Direct community is very poor with and there is some supply chain issue. Sometimes this militants target. Geopolitical turbulence in the West Asia always threatens, right, due to the conflicts. Strategic autonomy with look west policy should be guiding light for India relation with Israel. Here also keyword look west policy. So what I do is that I prepare some policies for every area. For the west we have look west. For the east we have act east. For the neighbors we have the neighborhood first policy. For the Russia and those areas we have the extended act east policy. extended neighborhood policy for the Central Asian regions. So those policies should be our guiding. So that I generally use for the conclusion in my bilateral relations. Okay, getting some clarity. So I told you what I explained is that yes, we understood the syllabus very clearly. What exactly there in the syllabus? We understood how UPSC is framing the question and what type of question they are asking. Mostly they are asking what are the positive side of bilateral relation, what are the negative side of bilateral relation, which we called as the convergence and divergence, right? So you saw how it can be used to write an answer. Map are the very important point here, and the keywords are the important. We need to have certain international relation diplomatic terminologies. Then your answer will look like a diplomatic answer or a kind of international relation answer. Is that clear? Any doubt here? No, right? Okay. Now let's see the other questions. See, write the third question and fourth question. These two questions. See, this is very important. I modified, this is 2013 question, but I have modified recent development in Bangladesh so that one topic will be clear for the next means. Next is the critically analyze involving relation with Central Asian region. This is also the 2024 question. See, this is Central Asia. Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. When you studied IR last time? Not studied. No. You have actually conceptual clarity you need in the IR. Right? Basically, you have the points, but how should I explain that? Here it's clearly visible that you have lacking the understanding of IR. You know about what is happening, those things, but that understanding is missing. For example, in the Bangladesh issue, you know what's happening, right? You know, but you don't have that. I think from the perspective of international relation, like how things work, how it is visible. When you see the India-Bangladesh relation, the first thing should come in your mind is about in geopolitics only. The things which is changing is that the trilateral relationship, Bangladesh is going close to Pakistan, China is influencing that, right? And the BIMSTEC is getting set back. The anti-India protest is going on. The consulates, the diplomats are reducing. Bangladesh is reducing. India is also. There is attack on the embassy. So that should be linked. My point is that here, and the second thing is that when you see that it's saying that the political developments are happening, the first prioritization should be the negative relation, how it is negatively impacting. The positive, then we will see the opportunity. There is nothing positive is happening in the political development. So that is the understanding I am talking about. I mean, we cannot use the framework just as a framework. We have to use our understanding that you saw in Israel, I didn't prioritize the other, I prioritized the economic relation because that's the core. So that is the understanding about the IR. Here also you have to prioritize the major issue. See, imagine how it can impact India if Bangladesh and Pakistan are becoming the friends. After 1971, that's the first time the Bangladeshi army chief and the Pakistan Navy chief met. Can you see imagine the level of implication it can have. Already we have enemy with the China, and already we have the enemy with Pakistan, now enemy in the Bangladesh. I mean, then it will be the 3-front war. Currently we have the 2 fronts. Now our northeastern region is completely threatened because of this Bangladesh. Right. So my point there is that these understandings we have to bring in our answer, prioritization of the points. So that is the That's what I said. You have the points like the Asian, everything you are bringing, but that understanding, that those knowledge should be aligned with our understanding about that relation. So how I see the India-Bangladesh relation, how I see India Central Asian relation, region relation. So that will come if you understand the international relation. I mean, try to revise, when you will revise maybe then it can get the clarity, or if you have taken the good class, if good faculty teach these things, that how the relation things are there from the understanding point of view. Factually we can get, from my framework only you get many facts, that's not the issue, but that understanding part we have to build. So points are there, but that missing part is there. If you remember, I told you one SWOT analysis. Whenever you talk about the threats or weaknesses in any relation, currently it is the threat. The current question is about the threat. What is the threat? Because of the political development. The opposite of threat is opportunity. Whenever you see some threat, you see the opportunity. So that you have to see in the India-Bangladesh relation. As a diplomat, I see the opportunity still there. So when it says that the critically examine, you don't have to write the weakness, you have to write that what is the opportunity you are able to see, the other side. One is that the negative, second still opportunity is there. As a diplomat, I should be optimistic. These are the understanding of an IR. As a diplomat, how should I think? Okay, so now let's see the answer quickly. Time is already. Now this is a question. The recent protests, we know that the recent question is the recent protest and political development in Bangladesh leading to a significant shift in India-Bangladesh relation. Critically examine. Now it's saying that yes, we know that there has been protest 2024 and then the government change. Sheikh Hasina, the Prime Minister, has to extradite to India. That has happened. That has led to after that a lot of changes in the India-Bangladesh relation. Critically examine. That means yes, changes has happened, mostly negative, but still there are some positive signs and opportunities we can highlight. Recent student protests led to the resign of ex-Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and formation of interim government. This has significantly affected India-Bangladesh relation. Simple. Significant shift in India-Bangladesh relation. What shift? Geopolitical shift. Institutional changes has happened. Closure or the reduction in the diplomats. That's a major political change has happened. Attack on the Indian embassy in the Bangladesh has happened. Anti-India protests in the Bangladesh impacted political relation. So now think like one examiner who is a diplomat is evaluating this answer. They are clearly seeing the current what is happening, isn't it? Growing trilateral in Asia, Bangladesh, China, Pakistan, security and strategic challenges it can bring. Bangladesh closeness with Pakistan, Bangladesh-Pak defense agreement. Geostrategic, threatening India's chicken neck, that is northeastern region, because of that region. Infiltrations by the illegal immigrants impacting border security, right, that point he has mentioned. Geo-economic, deep in the bilateral relation. Minorities apprehension and the attack like the lynching of Hindus. This point nobody mentioned. This is a very major issue right now. However, the deeply rooted and the diversified relation gives opportunity like, that is the critical examination. I am still able to see the positive. Collaboration under BIMSTEC, support of nationalist and the democratic factions, still they support. The support, it's not like the complete Bangladesh is against India. There are factions of the Bangladesh, especially some factions, they are against India. So that's still opportunity. Strong civilizational linkage is there that we can channelize. India must open dialogue and constructive cooperation with democratic stakeholders there, not with those who are violent, for long-term relations. This is India-Bangladesh relation. Going to the next question, that is critically analyze India's evolving relation with Central Asian republics, highlight their increasing significance in the regional and the global geopolitics. So here there are two parts. One is that it's saying that the India Central Asian relation are evolving, okay, and in the context of they have significant regional and geopolitics influence. Who? CAR. So that we have to highlight. So first, Central Asian republics share civilizational, cultural and economic interests with India. I don't know the very good introduction, so I just it's very general introduction. Evolving significance of CAR in regional and the world politics. That part is mentioned here. Ready? So this is the CAR. Influence over the regional groupings. As we know, whenever we talk about the geopolitics, we talk about the regional groupings and the multilateral institution. So the first point is SCO. Second is the multilateral stake they are at the UN, IMF. Critical mineral they have reserve can influence the geopolitics. Those who have energy, critical minerals, these things, energy is also a critical mineral, they can influence the geopolitics. Evolving relation of India and CAR, energy relations. Here I have not used that framework. You will see the framework, but I have not used the word geostrategic, geoeconomic, that every time not required. Otherwise it will be like copy pasting. So in one answer I use that, another answer I am showing that. I am not like the mechanical everywhere I am using a template. So energy relation is the key between India and Central Asian region. So India Kazakhstan nuclear energy agreement, like they supply uranium to India, Kazakhstan. You have mentioned. Defense relations, like India supplying defense products to them. Now we are diversifying. Counter-terrorism agreement and military exercises are happening. Economic trade relations, like the India diversification of export policy. We want to diversify. People to people and cultural relation, like the promotion of yoga. So these are the evolving relations. However, there are point of divergence impacting relations, because it has asked us to discuss. What? Chinese influence in the region with the debt trap and the trade surplus. That's very high. Poor connectivity, slow progress of INST project. Connectivity is slow. Lack of institutionalization of the cultural relations. And the last, leveraging SCO, where they are also member, with India's extended neighborhood policy, can diversify and deepen India's Central Asian relations. Okay. So as I said, the policies can be used in the conclusion. So this can help you to conclude. So this is the answer, that is the second answer. To critically analyze India's evolving, critically this end. So this is the evolving significance, this is evolving relation of India and Central Asian relation, and this is the critical analysis that is seeing some challenges. The conclusion, way forward, that is the way ahead, giving some solutions. So that way you can address this. Now you compare your answer. I have shared the answer with you in the Telegram group. You are there in Telegram group? So there, from there you can again see the answer, what keyword you can get from there, what value addition point you can get, how the language has been used, what learning you can draw from that answer. You have to see that. Clear? Okay, any doubt here?